Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Budapest here, the capital city of Hungary. I hope everybody is having a good weekend so far, staying productive, healthy, and getting some relaxation, going out for walks in nature and so forth. In this class, students, we are looking at speaking part 3 and discussing some simple concepts to get a band 9, simply a band 9. And of course, as usual, our materials do come from our websites. They're presented by aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Please visit us there. And for general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. On both of our websites, we have lots of great materials for you. And in fact, we even have a platform where you can practice your speaking for the IELTS for free with other students. So I will show you that in a minute here, just so you know where to go. So our website, aehelp.com, looks like this. You can click that big red button to join the premium package. The general version of the website looks like this with the green background. Again, click that big red button. And then when you join either the paid or the free version of the website, you have this My Student account. And then in your My Student account, you have computer-based practice exams, audio CDs, video lessons, the blog that I showed you last class, and you have this student partner speaking option here. And when you click on that, you will be asked to accept the terms, so you speak nicely with others, and then it will open up another page for you. And in that other page, there are always some students waiting for people to join and practice their speaking, and you can do audio, video, or text. It's a good idea to click on the text first and send, for example, a text asking, hey, would you like to practice some speaking, or Roshan? And then they'll say, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then you can do audio or video. Okay, so that's absolutely free. It's on both websites, and it's there for you to use. Of course, with speaking, the only way to improve truly is through practice. So you have to practice as much as possible. So again, that's student partner speaking, and it's absolutely free. It's in both the free and the paid version of the website. Okay, so make sure to use that, and it's in the general version as well. All right. So that's there for you. That's a resource for you to use. Try to use it as much as possible. And if you don't connect on the first try, don't be discouraged. So just wait, be patient, try another person. Between some countries, the connections are more difficult because of the restrictions between countries as well. Okay, welcome members. Hi Oas, hi Puiti, and hello our regular students. Hi Ronnie, Shak Zoda. Nice to see many of you in the class. Students, if you ever have questions, you can reach me at adrian@aehelp.com. It's my email. You can also get our exam books in hard copy from Amazon. So you can order the paperback books, A Helps Academic IELTS. You'll find 2 books with 6 exams total. And then G Helps General IELTS, 2 more books for general. Classes are Central European time. I will be back on Wednesday with more live classes. Usually there are no classes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, okay? And I will put the schedule for next week on our community posts on the channel, so you can always check it there, but I will be back on the 26th Wednesday with speaking part 1 at this same time. Okay, so let's get into part 3. So part 3 speaking, it's the last part of the speaking interview. It's 3, 4, 5 questions with follow-up questions to get as much detail as possible from you, the candidate, and to see whether you're really a band 7, a band 8, or a band 9, okay? Part 3 questions, they're definitely more challenging. They're more specific. They're connected to part 2, and they're testing for the higher band levels on the exam. So here, the examiners already have a good idea if the candidate is a band 5 or a 6 or maybe even a bit more. And this is where they find out if you're actually a band 8 or a band 9. Okay, so that's what happens in part 3. All right, now in part 3, you want to always think about using the question in your answer. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of tips just in the beginning here that I want you to pay attention to while we're doing this. So use the question in your answer for clarity and fluency. Okay. Reflect the grammar of questions. Give answers, explanations, and examples, but do not go off topic. Okay, so this is what I want you to focus on. Now, if you were here in last class, then you should also focus on practicing some of those adjective clauses using that and which. Okay, all right. So here we go. Let's start with the back set of 3 questions today. We always start with the first set of 3. So we're talking about software in this case. Just give me your best answer, students, and I'll give you some feedback. Pay attention to those points I just mentioned. So let's talk about the future of software. All right. What are some of the likely ways that software and applications will develop in coming years? Okay, so give me a nice answer for this question. So what are some of the likely ways that software and application will develop in coming years? Okay. All right. So Lydia says, software provides multiple benefits in different ways. I always rely on it using PowerPoint in my studies since I can finish it at a high pace as well as researching further info. I'm not sure how that's connected to, Lydia, how they will develop in the coming years, okay? Carolina says, these days individuals rely on their smartphones as an extension of their hands, to mention just for setting up the alarm to get up in the morning, and useful apps such as Google Maps. I use it. Okay, Carolina, I think you're answering a different question. Yeah. So here, students, like I say, because I know some of you preload and pre-think, but I want you to work on answering in real time. Okay? All right. Tannerit, I see you are on the ball. So Tannerit says, the most eminent application that would be quite eminent in future will be alternatives of Facebook, Twitter, and Google Maps. They are these apps to remain upgraded. Okay, Tannerit, good start. All right, I like your real-time answer. So Tannerit is saying the most prominent applications that will be available in the future are alternatives to Facebook, Twitter, and Google, as these are utility applications which people use in their daily lives to express themselves and navigate the world around them. I use Google Maps all the time to find my way around the city of Jakarta. All right, Tannerit, good answer. That was my correction. So answer, explain, example. Don't repeat your words. Don't use the word etc. We would never say etc. in speaking. It's just weird. So don't use etc. in your speaking, Tannerit. Okay? All right. Let's see some more. Bijaya says, by going with the recent trends, software will allow users for certain applications on a rented basis. Okay, Bijaya, what do you mean? So software will be paid in the future? That's quite possible. So we have paid applications today, and the more advanced our applications become, the more likely that they will become paid as well. So Bijaya, good start. What you mean to say is by following recent trends, future software will likely allow users to navigate applications on a payment basis, such as in-app purchases or monthly subscriptions. Okay, Bijaya, good. So that's the correction there. Notice the vocabulary and the way that I changed what you wrote. Good. Manish says, applications and software are developing day to day at tremendous speeds. In coming years, these will give a completely new look to the world. In what way, Manish? So in what way will the software and applications develop? Use your visualization. Okay, you have a good start, but you haven't really answered the question. Again, you have to answer the question. Cavid says there are a lot of potential paths that computer programs can follow. Most important of all, it is becoming more and more dependent on artificial intelligence. I think this is the area where most applications will improve. I can see this already today with applications such as Bixby for Samsung or Alexa. Very good, Cavid. That's a great answer. AI. Best, if you want to ask me something, just ask. You don't have to ask me. Just ask. If I catch it, I will certainly answer it. Okay. Abrar says the future of apps are unpredictable as we look forward. In the future, it is more likely to have an app which can integrate all of our household equipment onto a single platform. We can already see the foundations of this with applications for smart homes. I think, Abrar, we can predict the future a bit. I mean, we already do see these types of applications. So based on recent technology and trends, I predict that the future of mobile computer programs will integrate more artificial intelligence, become even more user-friendly, and perhaps more virtual reality. I can already see this with some apps like Google Maps and Bixby, which try to predict my thinking. All right. Very good. So again, use the question, what are some of the likely ways that software and applications will develop? So it's future. The verb is develop. Okay, so you can think of paraphrasing like advance. Okay. Based on recent technology and trends, I predict that the future of mobile computer programs, so I'm doing a paraphrase of the question, I'm using the question, will integrate more artificial intelligence, become even more user-friendly, and perhaps more virtual reality. I can already see this with some apps like Google Maps and Bixby, which try to predict my thinking. All right, that would be your high band answer. Okay, make sure that you clearly understand the question. If you don't understand the question, you have to ask for a repeat. Okay. All right, so the follow-up question is, what is driving this demand? Okay. Another way I could say this is, what is encouraging this need, or what is motivating this necessity? Okay, so what is pushing this development? What is driving this demand? So I paraphrased this 3 different ways for you. Now, unfortunately, in the real exam, you do not get paraphrasing. So you have to understand the original. Okay. Rohini, how do you write answers? Use the question, use your own thinking, and type it into the chat. Okay. All right. Pooza's asking, what if I don't know anything about AI? I don't know anything about the topic. How can I answer? Pooza, you have to use your critical thinking. So Pooza, I guess that you likely use a mobile phone. I mean, you're definitely using the computer right now. So based on the way that you use the computer, you have to be able to think and put together a sentence that explains what you think will be the future of software. Okay, you don't need technical knowledge of AI or computers to answer this question. There are 100 different ways to give an answer to this question, depending on who you are and the way that you think about it. So Pooza, you have to be able to answer these questions. In the IELTS task 1, 2, and 3, the idea is that anybody should be able to give some answers to these questions. Okay. Notice Sandeep Bilga's answer, Pooza. So Sandeep, to the previous question, says, according to me, in the future, applications and software will be even faster because everybody wants to work faster. For example, people want to send payments from one country to another in just a few seconds instead of 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, so Sandeep is saying that applications will be faster, they'll be prettier. Okay, they will be more complicated. So Pooza, there's lots of ways to answer that question, all right, and explain it. Okay, let's look at the follow-up again. So the follow-up is, what's driving this demand? Kavit says, judging by the statistics on cell phone usage, it is clear that people use devices hands-free and without putting in much effort. This contributes to a lot of the development in this technology. Very good, Kavit. So you thought about what you just said and then you elaborated on it. That's good. Okay. Now, students, this is a speaking class, so make sure to speak and repeat. Even if it's challenging, do your best. It's okay to make mistakes. Okay. So speak and repeat. It's very, very important. Okay. Monica Bethula says, work-related programming in all fields tend to develop this demand. Monica, I think that's a really good start to the answer. Can you please explain that? So Monica, you have an answer. Remember, to get a band 9, you want to think of explanations and examples. Okay. So you're using the question, which is good. They're developing this demand. So Monica, it's good that you're using the question. Explanation and example. What do you mean work-related programming? So how does it relate to the work environment or employment? Okay, I think you have something there, but I don't want to guess your explanation or your example. I want you to tell me it. Okay, and then you'll get more points for fluency, grammatical range, coherence. Okay. All right. Murasa Baraki says, certainly the needs of society and individuals motivate persons for such breakthroughs. Like in the past, we didn't use Facebook or WhatsApp for communication, but the demand of people led to the popularity of these software. The demand of the people, Marasa, led to the popularity of the software. I think this is similar going forward. So don't you lose the question, Marasa, in the past, but keep it in the future, right? So keep thinking in the future. Okay, and it's ing, continuous form, so you want to respect and follow that progressive form as well. Okay. Shakzoda says people tend to use such kinds of up-to-date apps. I can say that people fancy their interests and these help us to do our work easier. All right, sure. So I think that such needs are driven by several factors. In large part, people like to be fed by a silver spoon. What I mean is that they like to invest little or as little effort as possible to reach their goals. As one case, just verbally telling Google what I want to search for. This public interest is fueling the supply and demand of AI advancement. Okay, so here I'm giving you an absolute band 9 answer, students. So if at first you're like, whoa, what is that? I can't get some of that, what you're writing there. I am throwing some idiomatic language in there as well. I'm using the question, again, answering, explaining, giving examples. So here we go. Repeat after me. What is driving this demand? I think that such needs are driven by several factors. So here I'm using the passive voice, right? That's why it's driven, are driven, okay? In large part, people like to be fed by a silver spoon, okay? Fed with a silver spoon basically means that people are catered to. They don't have to do anything. The events just happen around them. Okay, so fed with a silver spoon basically means that a person is spoiled. Okay, it's an idiom. So fed with a silver spoon. What I mean is that they like to invest as little effort as possible to reach their goals. As one case, just verbally telling Google what I want to search for. This public interest is fueling the supply and demand of AI advancements. Okay, so that would be your high band answer. All right. Okay, make sure you stay on topic, okay? Seni Sarani, I just read yours out of the corner of my eye, and you have some good ideas there, but it's not really on topic, so dependence on apps is not really the question here, all right? So careful with that. Pachu Yadav says, well, people have less time and a hectic life during these days, and they want to live comfortably. Apart from this, there's also environmental pollution, which can be counteracted by using software. Pachu, I think you have a really good answer. I want to see you use the question in your answer, okay? So the motivating factor behind this advancement is that people have less time and a hectic life. So they want to live more comfortably, and apart from that, also decreasing pollution through the use of such software, okay? Yeah, so good, Pachu. It's a great answer. Use the question. All right. Okay, I see a lot of answers coming from our members as well. Oh, it says to push the software to achieve this development in application, the market needs an individual combined creates this competition between or among the companies. OS, when you're thinking of more than two, because of course here we're talking about a lot of different companies, then it's among, okay? Between is two, so between two people, among many people. Between two companies, among many companies, all right? So careful with that. Also, OS, I made a few other corrections as well, so make sure that you pay attention there, okay? All right. Secure Now says, according to me, AI makes life pretty easy in this contemporary time, and everyone wants this service. So this is driving the development of such technology in the future. Okay, secure. Don't forget the question. Okay, so what is driving this demand? That's one of the, so you're going to be more fluent when you use the question in your answer. More importantly, you're going to be more accurate. So you will be more on topic with your answer as well. Okay, so that's why it's so important to use the question in your answer. Okay. All right. Let's keep rocking and rolling, everyone. Let's go to the next question. So, what may be the negatives of becoming overly dependent on applications for day-to-day activities? That's an interesting question. And I would probably start by saying that. So some people are saying, oh, you shouldn't say this in the IELTS. Some people are saying it way too often. Students, in reality, you should say this when it's the truth. And when it's the truth, use it because it will help you to be fluent and to buy some time to think of a good answer. Okay? So I would, if somebody asked me that, whether in an exam or in the coffee shop, I would say, that's an interesting question. Please allow me a moment to think. And that would probably take about 3-4 seconds here. It's kind of like in the movies. Dun, da, 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 3-4 seconds later, Adrian continues to speak. But I would do that, okay? And that's totally natural. If the examiner can see that you're thinking of a good answer to the question and you're not just thinking of vocabulary, which is unlikely in this case, then definitely do that, okay? There's no rush. You're there for 15 minutes in the interview. What's 4 or 5 seconds out of 15 minutes to give a good answer rather than just coming up with some nonsense, right? So, all right. Well, let's see what people have answered for this one. Okay. So, Tunarit says, the negatives of an overwhelming dependence on such technology is the deterioration of the health of the masses because they become lethargic and they become couch potatoes and don't put effort into their everyday activities, especially exercise. We already are seeing this today, and it's going to be much worse in the future. Tunarit, good. I made some corrections. Tunarit, you have good ideas. You definitely have to work on your correct grammar and word choice, okay? Beckjohn says, from my perspective, the main side effects of over-reliance on these apps are health issues and lack of communication as more and more people spend most of their time using such apps instead of spending quality time with their friends and family. I have a couple of friends that haven't actually had a normal conversation with their parents that lasted more than 20 minutes for years. I just came up with that example, but that was a scary one. Use your quantitative information, right, Beckjohn? It's a great start. Okay. I'm always, of course, being critical, students. I'm always pushing every student to be their best, pushing you to that next level. Okay, I'm like that diving coach that no matter how many flips you do and how many points you get, I'm always pushing you to do one more flip or one more twist to get even more points and become a living legend in English communication. All jokes aside, though, beyond IELTS, you're going to be using English to travel, to work, to be successful. So you always want to push yourself to improve your communication, okay? Learning English and languages, it's a lifelong journey, all right? Keep that in mind. So as many wisdoms say, enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey, okay? Azim John says, of course, there may be some demerits because people's dependence on technology increases. They will further adapt sedentary lifestyles and feel lethargic during the day. Their immune systems will become weaker and they will become more susceptible to illness and disease. And we can see this with the COVID-19. A lot of people are severely affected, especially respiratory system, because they are not fit or they have low fitness levels. Sure. Okay. Ishan Bala says, well, when people tend to depend a lot on applications, this will cause them to become obese, thereby inviting more diseases like diabetes and heart disease. Ishan, sure, that works, okay? A lot, Ishan, is 2 words. A lot, okay? Every English teacher picks on that, so just remember it. A lot, always 2 words, okay? All right, TensorFlow says, I think the first negative aspect that occurs with the overdependence on apps are health problems, especially for the eyes. In addition to this, depending on the application, it creates communication problems with our social spheres, like our parents and our brothers. Okay, good. So, some of the main deficits that are associated with an over-reliance on software is lack of critical thought, exercise, and socialization. People these days have trouble adding together simple numbers. I just saw a salesman the other day use their phone to give me change on $5. Okay. So, repeat after me. What may be the negatives of becoming overly dependent on applications for day-to-day activities? That's an interesting question. Please allow me a moment. Some of the main deficits that I think are associated with an over-reliance on software is lack of critical thought, exercise, and socialization. People these days have trouble adding together simple numbers. I just saw a salesman the other day use their phone to give me change on $5. You've probably seen that, I'm sure. So, all right. Follow-up question. How can this be avoided? So think simple. Okay, simple is beautiful. You don't have to overcomplicate. So simple is beautiful. How can this be avoided? Okay, now this is where you might want to use some modals. Okay. Peya Basak says these problems can be eliminated either by maintaining health through yoga on a daily basis or spending time with sports. It is well established that daily workouts allow individuals to be healthy and to be more thoughtful. All right, Tenzin Lama says there are a couple of ways to control this detriment by reducing screen time on the applications and spending more time with outdoor activities. Okay, good, Tenzin. Give me an explanation. Give me an example. I think you have a great start. I think you can show more fluency by giving an example and an explanation, okay? If you want to avoid personal examples, I know some people, they're like, oh, my teacher said don't do personal examples. That's okay. You can give non-personal examples that are smooth flowing. So Tenzin, you could say, doctors agree that 20 minutes walking in a nearby park daily reduces the problems of cardiovascular disease by 50%. for people. Okay, so use a non-personal example that's smooth flowing. All right, Pachu Yadav says, well, according to some researchers, if people watch TV, they should maintain the 20-20-20 rule, which means that after 20 minutes of watching TV, they should take 20-second breaks and stay 20 feet from the screen. Okay, Pachu, interesting. I thought you might say go for a 20-minute walk, which would also be maybe the fourth 20. Yeah, that's good. I like it. I like your quantitative example there. That's fantastic, Pachu. Okay. Marasa says, well, I ascertain that individuals can take full advantage of fast technology without the negatives as long as they schedule their life. I mean, making a timetable and acting accordingly. Not spending more than 4 to 5 hours in front of the computer each day, and taking 15-minute breaks to stretch every hour or so. Yeah, I think that's one of the most important steps, students, in avoiding these problems, is just remembering to take care of your body. So stretch, stand up, move around, get a glass of water, okay? So being conscious and being self-aware. Jaswinder says, these can be avoided by drawing a line to not over-depend on gadgets, such as meeting kith and kins in person rather than communicating via Facebook. Last year, I made a schedule to spend at least as much time face-to-face with my friends as I do on social media. Very good, Jaswinder. That's a beautiful suggestion, and I agree with it 100%, right? If I spend 30 minutes on social media chatting with friends, then hey, I should spend 30 minutes with a real friend sitting in a coffee shop and having some quality face-to-face communication. I agree. Okay. I went to the gym earlier today and I spent about 20 minutes of my 2-hour workout talking to some of the other friends that go to the same gym, and that felt great. Okay. So nice suggestions. Sandeep Bilga says, according to me, we should use these applications in a limited way. There has to be a balance among using applications and physical activities. Okay, Sandeep, don't use everything. We can't really get a clear idea of the word everything in speaking. Okay, so you want to avoid that. All right, it's a nice answer, everyone. So how can this be avoided? There are a few different ways to negate the negative impacts of depending on technology, such as limiting its use throughout the day, and importantly, remembering to spend at least as much time outdoors and in face-to-face communication as in front of the screen. I make sure that if I spend 6 hours in front of the computer, then I spend the same amount with family and friends in that day. Okay, sure. So just kind of borrowing from what many of you had written. Here we go. So repeat after me. How can this be avoided? There are a few different ways to negate the negative impacts of depending on technology, such as limiting its use throughout the day, and importantly, remembering to spend at least as much time outdoors and in face-to-face communication as in front of the screen. Make sure that if I spend 6 hours in front of the computer, then I spend the same amount with my family and friends on that day. Okay. Now, if you see new words, students, like negate, okay, it's kind of like a synonym for control, then write it down, okay? So write down new words. whenever you're in these live classes, I'm throwing around a lot of new words. Okay, so I've finished university in psychology, and I've read quite a few books, so I tend to think I have a fairly rich vocabulary, and I'm always sharing that with you in these live lessons. So many of you have probably noticed that I'm always kind of throwing in these new words or different words. And I'm doing that on purpose because I'm hoping that many of you are creating vocabulary banks where you're writing down these words. Then after the class, you write down their definitions, and then you create a sample sentence that's complex, that's interesting, so that you can remember these words, okay? Building your vocabulary should be part of your daily studies, all right? So make sure to do that. All right. Good job, students. So let's now hop back to the first set of questions. So you're doing a good job and you're moving along nicely. And now the examiner says, okay, let's talk about using software. We talked about the future of software. Let's talk a little bit about using software. What are the most popular types of software and applications that people rely on in their daily lives? So now give me a nice answer for this one. Mutant says, I got 10 band because of you. That's amazing, Mutant. 9 is the maximum, but hey, I'm sure you got a great score, and I'm happy about that, which is fantastic. Cavid, technically no, but it's not going to really cost you. Okay, so Cavid is asking, can I mix British and American spelling? According to the IELTS, you shouldn't do that, but they will accept it. I've talked to a lot of examiners, and they said, yeah, we don't like to see it. Technically, no, but we hate giving somebody a wrong mark because they're using either or, okay? So it's not the end of the world, Cavid. By the way, Cavid, when you mix American and British spelling, you're writing in Canadian English, which is my English, okay? Canadian English mixes American and British spelling. So I can only say good things about mixing American and British spelling because I'm Canadian. I would not turn against my own for that. All right. Beckjohn says, the most common types of software programs that individuals resort to on their daily lives are video apps like Zoom and Skype, and educational apps like Google Translate and academic IELTS help or general IELTS help. I had to say that, Beckjohn. Sorry, it was there. It was a low-hanging fruit. I had to pick it. Yeah, educational apps like our apps for IELTS. Absolutely. Okay. Marasa says, yes, sir. Due to this, I try to attend your live classes because of the vocabulary, right, Marasa? Good for you. I know you're picking up a lot of vocab from these classes because I can see it in your responses, and that's fantastic. Okay. Carolina says, these days, individuals rely on their smartphones as an extension of their hands, to mention just for setting up an alarm to get up in the morning, or useful apps like Google Maps. I use it every day to avoid traffic when I'm commuting to work. Right on, Carolina. Nice answer. Good flow of information. I think that's what you had at the beginning of the class. So I think you were studying up for that answer. Good for you. Okay. Good for being ambitious. All right. Kind of tricked everybody today that was doing that by starting with some different questions. All right. Secure says, in my country, people use Google Maps to reach their locations and find routes, and also restaurants and fuel up as well. Sure. So Secure, now give a few answers. Okay. So here we go. I think, so use the question. In everyday life, people depend on various apps for communication, like Skype or WhatsApp, as well as software that helps them navigate, like Waze, I think it's like that, or Waze with a Z, anyway. Waze and Google Maps. as well as apps for entertainment like PUBG and Tetris. Okay, I know I use a few of these apps throughout the week. Okay, so here we go. What are the most popular types of software and applications that people rely on in their daily activities? I think in everyday life, people depend on various apps for communication, like Skype and WhatsApp, as well as software that helps them navigate, like Waze and Google Maps, as well as apps for entertainment, like PUBG and Tetris. I know I use a few of these apps throughout the week myself quite often. Okay. Which of these is not so important? Okay, give me an answer for that one. Which of these is not so important? Let's see. Happy Z says, will gaming improve our English? Happy Z, it depends on what game you're playing. I mean, there's games for spelling, for example. So gaming can improve your English depending on what games you play. However, it's quite passive. And to improve your English quickly, you want to do active exercises. Active exercises will help you improve faster. Okay. Paya says, I don't find any of these apps less valuable since they all have their utility in their own way. I would say that Facebook and Instagram aid us to be social, whereas apps like Zoom enable us to continue our communications, especially in times of crises like the COVID. All right. Oas says there are many applications that people depend on in their daily routines and their work, like Maps or banking online, Google Translate. I use Maps when I drive to unknown places. Very good, Oas. Nice answer, explanation, example. Carolina says, from my experience, game apps are not so essential. They're just for entertainment when people have some spare time. I seldom play games on my smartphone, only when I'm in the mood to chill out, and that's probably only once or twice a week. Okay, good, Carolina. Azim John says, utilization of educational apps like Lingoda, E2 Linguish, and Academic English Help is the most prevalent among the multitudes to get a better grasp of English and IELTS. All right, nice plug, Azim John. You get a little gold star from me for that. Good for you. Okay, this one, pay attention to the negatives. Not so important. Which of these are not so important? I think all of these apps have their utility for people, but if I had to say, I would state that gaming apps are the least crucial in everyday life. A person can certainly survive a day or two without using them. Okay. All right, there we go. So which of these is not so important? I think all of these apps have their utility for people, but if I had to say, I would state that gaming apps are the least crucial in everyday life. A person can certainly survive a day or two without using these. Students, I'm going to stop there. There are a few more questions that you can try on your own. Okay, so how do most people use software? Can you elaborate? Is there any software that are negative for people? How about for society? Can you elaborate? You can try those ones on your own over the next few days while we take a short break from these live classes. Again, I will be back on Wednesday at this time with a new speaking part 1. Of course, until then, you can also join our premium courses and get our premium materials, aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. Download and link the apps, okay? The apps and the websites work together. So Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help. Keep checking back. We're always adding new materials and new elements to these apps as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation in today's class. There were a lot of great answers. Happy Z, accents don't matter as long as the examiner can understand what you intend to say. So no, accent doesn't matter. If the accent is confusing, then it's a problem. Okay? All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I wish you safety, productivity, and happiness. And if it's late in your country, then sweet dreams. I'm Adrian, signing out from Budapest for now. Much love to all of you. Bye.